hope you guys are having a good start to the work week. If you're dealing with the Monday blues, all I'm gonna say to that is, well, we're almost done with the day, so you don't have too much longer. This week's gonna go by faster than you know it. So keep your head up. All right, enough of the motivational talk. Got a little bit to talk about here. It's week. We're gonna do a weekly forecast, but it's gonna be a few things added on with this one today. Got quite a bit to go over, so we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna start with the obvious. The obvious is our severe weather threat that we have ongoing right now around the Chicago region. Well, now no longer around the Chicago region. It's now around Indiana and heading towards the state of Ohio. We have an enhanced risk. 2% chance of tornadoes, by the way. Doubtful one will form, but can't ever tell. I did mention this in yesterday's video. By the way, link will be in the top right hand corner. I did mention that I was a bit concerned about this setup, that this had a pretty good potential of being a big windstorm. And so far we haven't, this has not disappointed me in the slightest. And interestingly enough, now we have a pretty big marginal risk area that's popped up over here towards the Central Plains and even the Missouri Valley now. So there's still some stuff to watch over here as well. But for the rest of the night, I think we're going to be mainly watching this region for the greatest severe weather threat. Like I said, mostly damaging winds. Can't rule out a tornado. Can't rule out, and really the hail threat around this region just doesn't really seem to exist for right now. But considering the other hazards, we don't really need it to. Let's go to day 2. And this storm system will be working its way into the northeast, around the Delmarva, around DC and Baltimore. You guys need to watch out for a slight chance of severe weather. Tornado threat is practically non-existent, but the wind threat is going to be the main thing to look out for this time around. Hail threat is minimal as well, so it kind of simplifies things. This most likely will be a quick hitting system. It's going to be in and out before you know it. Storms could reemerge, but most likely this is going to be, I don't think it'll be as strong as today's setup, but you never know. This could get upgraded to a slight risk. We'll get into the details of that a little bit further. So we'll go to day 3, and we have no severe weather area to talk about right now, which is really nice. I don't really see a focused area where we could talk about severe weather, not even a marginal risk. Just based off how the jet stream is set up, there's nothing that really screams out this could be a big problem right now, which is really nice. Then on days 4 through 8, we're kind of on a mix. We have potential too low on days 4, 5, 6, 7, and even 8, which is beautiful. Go ahead and take a quick look at at any sort of storm reports. We mainly have, wow, that's gone up from the last time I looked at it. Last time I was looking at it was about 195. We're now sitting at 226 wind reports. Have 7 hail reports, so it's not completely dead when it comes to hail, but there are no tornadoes right now, and that's the number we like to see that at. So let's go ahead and start looking at some models here. We're going to be covering the week, so this should be pretty easy for us to take. So this should be pretty easy, pretty quick for us to cover. I have the wrong temperature here. Alright, we got that fixed. Mainly going to be looking at the Euro today on most of the forecasting. But we do have other stuff to cover, like the tropics, which will be a little bit later. But for right now, we're going to take a look at the strength of this storm system and any other storm systems that may be ahead for the week. Okay, moving this forward, not a lot going on after it, thankfully. There's no real big pieces of energy right now that scream out, hey, this could turn into a huge problem here. Maybe towards Saturday we might need to look at this right here. There could be a scattered piece of energy that pops up in the northern plains and causes some problems. If anything, I'm more concerned about the tropics at that point. Okay. So we go towards Sunday, nothing really going there. that's really all I got here. There shouldn't be too much in the way of a major storm system coming this week from the looks of it. We'll take a look at the actual potential radar imagery here. Look at our preset for the next 7 days. I'd say cannot speak right now. So we will move this along here. We get into Tuesday. And I would say right about 2 o'clock Eastern time, that's when we start to see the storms start to refire around this area. By about 5, between 5 and 8 o'clock here, that's when these storms will likely to be at their most severe. Fortunately, the Euro doesn't really pick up on those brighter contours, on those brighter colors or shades, so to speak. But definitely looks like that's when our greatest severe weather threat is based off of the shape that I'm seeing here. This kind of has that look of a line or a complex of thunderstorms here. We get into late Wednesday afternoon. We get into Wednesday afternoon here. It looks like we get a good bit of rain over Texas. This area still needs it, even though they've been inundated and getting that rain a little bit too quickly. This should probably finish off that drought. Then we have a couple of high pressures that take place that begin to settle in around the eastern half of the country and over towards the Four Corners region, leading to some pretty calm weather actually. So then we go towards the weekend here. Here's that lingering piece of energy that I was talking about that was hanging around towards the northern plains. I'll have to watch that briefly to see if that does anything. And then over here, here's where our tropical systems are. We got this one, and it'll be interesting to see where this decides to go from here. Then we get a little piece of energy that pops up late next week, but that's for another video. So while we're doing that, let's go ahead and take a quick look at what the GFS may have to show us. Just because, in reality, we want to always look at all our options here. Now the GFS may hype things up a little bit differently than the Euro, but this is why we look at different models to see if there's any sort of reason to have greater than average confidence here. Went a little too far. Okay, so let's go to about 12 hours out. Oops, went a little too far. All right, here we are. This is about our current time right now. This is our storm system over the Ohio Valley, doing its dirt, and then we actually have this. This is actually a little bit different already because you can look here and you see it. The GFS has a piece of energy already sitting over the Central Plains around 8 a.m. on Thursday, which is really interesting. First day of September. And then we have a secondary piece of energy that forms up here. Almost tries to form a piece of energy over Florida. Florida. Wow. Yeah, that's how you know I'm tired. But over Oklahoma here, has a little swirl to it. But I'm not too confident in that at all, to be honest. And then once we get to about the end of the week towards Monday, that's really interesting to see that tropical system right there. This still looks like it's holding true to yesterday's run where it becomes a major hurricane, but it doesn't really reach the U.S. or the Bahamas. It just rolls out to sea. It may hit Bermuda potentially based off the GFS, but as far as this is concerned, there's nothing to worry about there. I don't really, even though there's a couple interesting looks on here from the GFS, I don't really see any major storms that warrant a lot of concern for me, so to speak. So that's some good news there. Excuse me. So we'll go to the GFS really quickly, and then we'll go to about 6 hours out. And here's our severe weather ongoing right now. Some showers and storms around the panhandle of Texas. Watch this all roll about. And then here's our storm threat on Tuesday afternoon heading towards Wednesday night. That storm system moves out and it's replaced by a ridge that's going to be hanging around the eastern half of the country. Towards the south and east, we seem like we have that threat for some pop ups, showers, and storms on all the way through to the weekend. But beyond that, there's no really big storm systems. It's just that hurricane that's going to remain offshore, and man, this thing really gets impressive here. We're looking at a 956 millibar storm. It's definitely a major hurricane, very high end major hurricane at that. It'll be interesting to see where that goes from this point. All right, so now let's take a look at the temperatures. We're going to take a look at the Euro only this time. And I mean, not much is really expected to change. It's going to be hot for everyone across the board throughout the course of the week, unfortunately. I wish I could have better news to deliver there, but that's just how it is sometimes, unfortunately. I'd rather tell you the truth instead of you messaging me later saying, wow, this didn't even, wow. It was, you said it was going to be 70 degrees. It was 100. What is wrong with you? You just kind of have to pick your battles, I suppose. I was trying to be humorous, but I'm a little too tired. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. Okay, so for a lot of areas, we're going to be mainly sitting towards high in the 60s, even for the southeast. But some places are starting to get a little taste of fall in the mornings. Mainly going to be towards like the far northwest, and maybe towards the mountainous areas where we're getting that. But maybe, just maybe, it's a sign that change may come soon. I'm really hoping so, to be honest. Because I'm about tired of this heat myself. I gotta work in this stuff. Continuing to move this along. There's no real major indicator that things are gonna cool off just yet. So we look into the week. We look at all the way up towards the weekend, and just really nothing going there, unfortunately, for a lot of us. It's still going to be hot, even towards Monday and next week. We still got plenty of areas that are going to be sitting towards triple digits, although it does seem like towards the beginning half of September, maybe, just maybe, might have a little cool down around the eastern half of the country starting out. So now that we've covered that, I know this is becoming a lengthy video. Let's go ahead and look at the tropics here. So we're just jumping straight into the 5-day. We're still watching this area over here towards the Caribbean. 10% chance of development over the next 5 days. I really am interested to see what happens beyond that point, and I'm looking forward to looking at this recent model here. And it'll be interesting to see what the overnight models for the Euro and GFS have in store for this, especially ensembles. Now this storm, there's no surprise here. This storm we've been on for a minute. Now we're up to a 50% chance of developing within the next couple of days, and now an 80% chance of developing within the next 5 days. I am almost certain for a fact that this will become our next named storm, which would be Danielle, if I'm correct, if I remember correctly. I don't think we've had Danielle form. We've been thinking it would have formed well before now, but that's just how this season has been. It's kind of crazy. This little disturbance here is held together so far, but I think towards the end of the week, this thing is going to end up falling apart. It's not really a big bubble for it, rightfully so. It was in such an unfavorable environment. I just don't see any way this thing really gets its act together. And then, of course, with it being late August, early September, we have to watch this part of the African coast, the West African coast, because these big storm systems that leave there head out into the ocean, and then they really start to get their act together quickly. They're already giving this wave that hasn't even made it off the coast just yet. Well, probably has now, because this was made on at 2 o'clock Eastern. It is 7:42 Eastern right now, so it's probably over Cape Verde. And now this has a 30% chance of developing within the next 5 days. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the models have to offer us. We're mainly going to be looking closer towards home. Now this is a new map that I've found on here on Tropical Tidbits. Very nifty stuff, by the way. This is a Ensemble member. What this does is this shows where the mean is for pressure centers, both low and high pressures. Low pressures are in the red, like this area right here, and high pressures are going to be in the blue. And the more members that you see over there, the higher the likelihood of where that low pressure is going to be. So I'm really eager to use this. I'm using this on both the GFS Ensemble and the Euro Ensemble, which is going to be really cool. So it's going to be interesting to see how this forms, especially as this next tropical wave, these next couple of tropical waves come together here. So we're looking real close. So I'm watching real close. Here's a wave over. Here's a tropical system that pops up over here in the Pacific side of Mexico here, and you can even see right then and there just what I'm talking about as far as the is where the members are expecting that low to be, especially right here where the colors are a bit brighter. But over here is where our on the Atlantic side, that's where our next tropical wave is that we're expecting to pretty much become Danielle. Then we do see this little piece of energy right here. This does look like it tries to become a tropical wave. This is the GFS Ensemble, so we got to take this with a grain of salt. But this over here, we're expecting this to definitely become something, maybe even something big. The question is, does it impact land? So the GFS Ensemble has this scooting out to sea, just like the operational GFS. No surprises there. And then as far as this Caribbean storm, I just can't really seem to get a hammer down on that yet. It's hard to say what's going to happen with it, but we're going to go ahead and go over to the European Ensemble. I'm really interested in this because this is going to tell me a lot. This has been a more reliable model, and this will tell us a lot, I feel like. So here's our big tropical wave that we're watching, the one that's pretty much almost destined to become Danielle. So we see that rolling along. And the Euro's kind of holding on to that same run that it's had over the last couple of days with that Caribbean system. Just doesn't really seem like it has enough time to get its act together. All in the meanwhile, it also has that same Pacific system popping up here. The Euro also has that storm kind of kicking it out. They're kind of kicking that out to sea as well. But that's interesting right here, where we're seeing this little piece of energy that's popped up here. Did not see that in yesterday's model runs, but that looks like it goes through Cuba and then tags southern Florida, not West Florida, southwestern Florida, so to speak. And then here's more pieces of energy flying around. So just goes to show how active the tropics are. I mean, keep in mind that some of what you're seeing here is almost 360 hours out, so have to take that with a grain of salt. But it just goes to show the tropics are really starting to kick up. Don't really need to emphasize that too much. We're in the peak. We're technically in the meteorological peak of hurricane season, so no surprises there. But that is all I have for this video tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy, leave me a like, drop a comment in the comments. Oh wow, that was bad. But drop me a comment. Greatly appreciate that. Share the channel too. We're trying to get to 50 subs by the end of the year at the very least. If we can do more, I definitely will take that as well. But either way, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.